I'm Dave Cawley, investigative journalist and host of the podcast Cold. In October of 1985, a woman named Cherie Warren left work at a busy Salt Lake City office
to meet her estranged husband at a downtown auto dealership.
She never made it home. Cherie's car surfaced weeks later in Las Vegas.
In the parking lot of a hotel casino.
No one knows how it got there.
Strange. It was strange.
Both Cherie's estranged husband and her boyfriend raised suspicion for investigators.
I kind of thought that he might have done something.
But no arrests were ever made. In Cold Season 3, we dig into double lives, make new connections in the case, and examine the difficulty raised by reasonable doubt.
We want answers just as much as anyone else.
They have creeps like that now too, so nothing's changed.
That's the new Cold Season 3, The Search for Cherie, now available anywhere you get your podcasts.
Welcome back to Project Recovery. This is part 2 of the Cycle of Change. I'm Casey Scott. That's Dr. Matt. Now, we talked about the early stages of it. It was the pre-contemplation and then contemplation, right?
Right. And then we were following up on Jason Coombs' story where he was talking about that. And it applies to any kind of behavior change. Pre-contemplation, I'm just deep in my behavior. I'm eating anything I want all the time. Or I
never gain weight.
I'm drinking every day, or there's no insight. Contemplation is kind of like, maybe I should dial it back a little. Maybe there's a little problem. But I'm not going to change for real.
I've noticed a couple cracks in the dam, but it's not coming down.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and then. That, like you said, you might have been in that stage for how long?
A decade or more.
Yeah, for sure. People can stay in contemplation for a really long time.
And I would bounce around from friend groups. And, like if something that really blew up with one friend group, then I'll just come over here. Yeah. Time heals all. And then eventually, you cycle through the friends,
But then often enough is enough. And you realize, and this might be where people get into their rock bottom. We use that term a lot in here. And something happens where they're like, I really do need to change, and I need to start making plans. And that's step number 3 is preparation. And in preparation, you still haven't done anything yet, but now a person might be reaching out, asking for help, looking for, what is available to them. How could I do this? Who could help me? Sometimes we get messages about family members or people themselves asking, where can I go to detox or something like that?
And sometimes you might even be forced into preparation, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Where something so bad has happened that that what's coming down. And so
I just have to change. It could be a major health scare. It could be an accident.
Yep.
It could be ultimatums by family and friends.
And so now you've got to start to figure out, where am I going? Who are my allies? What can I do? And kind of assess the situation. And I bet you dimes to dollars, we get more messages from family members looking for preparation for their loved ones who are battling addiction as just a resource.
Right.
And
what we've talked about on this show a lot is, that's great and that's helpful, but ultimately the person, him or herself, they have to be committed in that stage. Like family members will definitely try to push people into that stage of preparation. Let's go look at a rehab. Let's talk to a doctor. Let's do these things. But it's not until the person really internalizes, okay, I'm going to change, that they're really in preparation. And hopefully preparation is a shorter stage. Because what we want to do is get to the next stage, which is action. And action is some sort of active modification of your negative behavior, right? So that might be where a person's like, okay, I'm going into rehab. Or, okay, I'm, hiring a nutritionist to help me, and I'm going to lift weights and eat right, or whatever it happens to be.
Here's another dumb recovery saying, but actually has a lot of meaning and makes a lot of sense. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome.
Yeah.
So if you don't do something different, change is not going to happen. You already know what's going to happen.
Right.
And until you tweak with this, do that, maybe mix it here, do whatever, then the same outcome is going to happen every time.
And the funny thing about that is, or sad thing about that is, we kind of trick ourselves. Our brain gets tricked. If you're doing something, it feels like you're being productive. But action doesn't always mean productivity, right? Mm. So you can keep doing the same thing over and over, cycling through those same unhealthy, unproductive behaviors, and you're kind of like, but I'm doing something. But you're right. It is a little insane if you're not getting a better outcome. So you got to do something new.
That, in recovery, they say you got to do the work.
So for you, moving into preparation, what do you think got you into preparation and then into action?
Man. I kind of saw this one coming, so that's why I said that earlier, is that sometimes you're forced into preparation.
Right.
My life was at a crossroad, and I had to do something different because if I kept doing what I was doing, chances are...
Well, things had gotten pretty rough there for a while. You got divorced.
Really rough. Lost a job.
A good job, but a great company.
Dream job.
Yeah.
I had lost my dream job. I had lost my marriage. I had lost the respect of my kids. I had lost just about everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then because of the wreck, I probably almost lost my free will.
You did. You lost your freedom, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there, and I've said it before on the podcast, I'm staring up at the sky, blood's running down my face, sirens are going, and that was I had 30 seconds of preparation. I knew right then I had to do something different, because if I didn't do something different, I wasn't going to make it.
Yeah, things were getting pretty out of control. And you're lucky you lived through that, and that everyone in the accident was physically okay.
Yeah, I don't know how this is all working out, but I'm blessed and I'm thankful, and that's why I want to do this and give back as much as I can. But I knew at that moment that I needed to change, because I had done everything. I had rationalized. I had bartered with myself. I had made deals with the devil. I had done everything. I had prayed. You don't know how many times I dropped to my knee and said, "Hey, God, it's me. I know it seems like I only talk to you when I need something, but man, I need something.
Right.
Please."
Yeah. And I think that not only was that the preparation going on, but we've talked about this on the air, but you and I've talked about it. You got pretty busy. Like you had to go to jail, and you had the mugshot and did all that stuff, and you got out on bail. And what did you start doing right away? This is the preparation stage. You started calling around, finding out what help is out there for me.
So right when I got out of jail, I got home, I made a call, and I said, I need to go to a detox center. And I called some friends. They told me detox center. I called them. I said, I'm coming. I went up there. They said, we don't have room for you. I said, this is not going to work for me. I need to get in. I can't be at home. I can't here be myself. So they said, well, come here at 6. I said, I'll be there at 4. We're talking a.m. Yeah. I don't have a car.
Hey, you got up there early and hung around. Huh?
Yeah, I sat there. I mean, I was just like, hey, look, if there's an opening, there's a spot. I need to get in. Please let me get in. I got in, did the work there. Somebody came and says, hey, have you ever thought about a recovery? I know. Talked to somebody. Sent my mom out. I'm 45 years old today. And my
mom is always there to help, right?
Mom, go look at these 2 rehab centers. She went and looked. She says, I think this one's going to work for you, Casey. I said, I'm in. Let's go. Did 45 days there.
Yeah.
And when I got out, I just kept running and kept moving. And here I am today, and part of this wonderful podcast and doing amazing things. And I'm still working every day.
And so you're in the phase right now, which is after action. So preparation, you're calling around, you're asking mom to help you find a place. That's preparation. Then you get into detox and straight over to rehab, and that's action. Now you're taking active action steps. You're getting up in the morning, you're listening to the docs and the therapists, you're working out, you're doing everything. And you met a goal, didn't you? You did those 45 days, you're sober. And after a while, you move into what's called a maintenance phase. Maintenance is an interesting phase because that's when you're doing you're continuing actions that keep your behavior successful, and you're doing it over a period of time.
And I guess my maintenance right now, and as stupid as this sounds, it's the gym.
I think that's a very common one, actually.
But the stupid part is golf. and the reason
Why is that stupid? It seems okay to me.
Because that's something I'm truly passionate about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I have fun doing. And it allows me to just be free of everything.
Mm-hmm.
That I could go out there and just have fun.
Well, it's sort of a Zen activity, golf.
But that's what it is for me. It's I get to go. I was telling somebody yesterday on the golf course about this, and he goes, "How's the not drinking going?" I go, "Surprisingly, it's pretty easy, but it's things like this that allow me to not think about it as much," which is weird because that's where I used to do all the drinking was on the golf course.
Right.
But now I can.
So let's talk about that in terms of these stages. So action is when we're learning new behaviors. We've got to learn how to not drink. We're learning how to be Zen or sober or whatever it happens to be. Learning not to eat Wendy's every day, whatever it is. But then maintenance is when new behaviors replace the old unhealthy behaviors. So you're out at the golf course back in the day, and you're drinking beer the whole time, right?
Yeah, shots at the 9, yeah.
Shots at the 9, drinking beer. Now, what have you replaced? Because the golf is technically the same. I know it's a better experience for you now.
And for everybody else.
But what are you doing instead of drinking while you're golfing? What behaviors replace that old behavior?
I'm getting better at golf. I'm getting better shots. I'm understanding the game better. My handicap is going down. My scores are getting better. I mean, that's what I'm doing, is that I'm actually playing the game.
Okay. So instead of focusing on drinking, you're focusing on the skill of golf.
Yeah, which is stupid because I used to say I loved golf back then, but my dad would go, "You never loved golf. You loved drinking.
Okay.
You just happened to be okay golfer." But now I'm a better golfer.
Right. It's actually improved.
And I like the competition. I can still do the talking and go out there. Sorry to swear, Josh, but yeah, go out there and have some fun.
Yeah.
And feel competitive. And I love it. I mean,
and you're not wiped out after,
No, now I usually come home and sleep on the couch for 2 hours.
Yeah.
Now I come home, pick up the kids. We go swimming. We go hang out.
Quality of life's way higher.
It's amazing.
What about one of the other things we've talked about from your story, if you don't mind me bringing up, is, I know life is different now. You have a wonderful girlfriend, and the relationship with the kids is good, and even with your ex-wife is good. But back in the day when you felt kind of down after a long day's work, you'd sometimes come home and just kind of isolate out on the back deck and drink and smoke cigars, right? Mm-hmm. So I would imagine that just like anybody, you still have long days where you feel kind of down or discouraged. People don't know, but you've been out hustling, trying to find good jobs, and even Casey Scott gets turned down once in a while, right?
Quite a bit.
Yeah. And so, you've had discouraging moments during your sobriety. Instead of coming home, so this is that maintenance phase, what behavior have you replaced with sitting on the deck and drinking? What behaviors have replaced that for you?
So I still, every once in a while, get panic attacks, and they're far and few now. They were regular back when I was drinking. Mm-hmm. So I'll get those when I kind of feel like the world is falling in on me. Mm-hmm. And like everywhere I'm getting at, bills are coming here. This girl, my daughter needs braces. They want more time here, and just all that stuff.
Right.
So I stop, and then I breathe, and I take some deep breaths. I don't meditate as much as I should, but I want to get back into that.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't. But the one thing I do is I get present and go, okay, look where you are right now. Look where you have been. How bad is life, really? How focused on this are we going to get? Are we going to accept it, acknowledge it, and if we can change it, let's change it. If we can't, let's accept it and move on.
Okay. So to summarize that for me, I would say back in the day when you had all those pressures coming on, you escaped reality. You went and sat on the deck, you drank beer, you got drunk, and you actually, even though you were just in one place, your mind had run away.
Oh, yeah. 3 beers into it, that wasn't
all of a sudden the problems
No, that's when I started picking up the phone and start texting and calling people and trying to escape. But it's the truth.
But now you've replaced that escapism behavior, which led to drinking at night, with mindfulness, really. I mean, bringing yourself back to the present, actually approaching the issue and saying, okay, how bad is this really? And looking at the reality of your situation. So being present, being focused, that's a huge shift. That's a 180 from escapism, right? We're bringing ourselves right into the moment, breathing, addressing issues, and probably sounds like a lot of gratitude.
I'm full of gratitude. But there's certain things that I've now figured out that I used to think Casey could figure out anything.
Yeah.
But there's certain things in this world that I can't change. And sitting there pounding my head up against the wall trying to figure out a way to change it is not going to do anything but just hurt my head.
Yeah, for example, if you were, I know there were a couple jobs you were pretty excited about that they ultimately didn't pan out. I mean, you just have to move on, don't you?
I get this question all the time. Are we going to see you back on TV? And even a year ago, I'd have said, I think so. Mm-hmm. And that was me hoping.
Yeah.
Now you ask me, I still think in some form I'll get back on TV, but if it doesn't happen, I'm okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I used to think that's the only way I'm going to survive. That's the only way I'm going to be back to me is if I get back on TV. That's going to be that's what I need. Now, if I don't get back on TV,
that was the definition of who you were.
Yeah, that defines me.
Yeah.
Now, if I don't get back on TV, that's okay. Because my life is pretty good right now. I get to do what I want. I have a good job. I have a wonderful girlfriend and family. And if I don't get on TV, I'm going to be okay. I had a good run at it.
Well, you did have a great run at it, but I think in some ways you're moving beyond TV because TV is sort of struggling in a lot of ways. It's still a great place to be and work. But I mean, you're doing this podcast. You have another exciting podcast, which my girlfriend likes a lot, by the way.
Dadtastic.
Yeah, Dadtastic. And you're doing things that I think are still letting you be Casey and make a living. But I don't think you have to be hooked to this idea of going back in time. I mean, if TV works out, great. That'll be fun.
Yeah, but I like having this creative outlet. I love doing Project Recovery. I love giving back, and it fills my heart full of goodness. We've got one more thing, right?
We've got one more thing. Relapse. Now, I want to jump in here. So a lot of times people are in maintenance for a short period of time or a long period of time. We've had guests on the show where they've been in maintenance for a decade. And they're doing great, and then something happens and they relapse. And what I want to do is hopefully help people understand these stages are hopeful because they're not one-dimensional. It's actually an upward spiral. If you Google and look at this online, you'll see that yes, some people can go through the cycle one time and they stay in maintenance, and that's it, and that's amazing. But most of us have to go through a cycle several times. And so it's hopeful. That's why I want people to understand relapse is going to fade into pre-contemplation again, and then you're going to start that whole cycle all over again. But think about a spiral that moves upwards and gets tighter as it goes. And people tend to spend less and less time in those relapse moments, and they learn something from that so that the next time they get all the way back around to maintenance, it's a stronger, better person. And that's my hope for people. Instead of looking at relapse as a failure, especially if you're a family member of someone who's struggling, look at it as, yeah, we would like to avoid it, but relapse is part of a cycle that moves us upward.
I go back to that conversation I had with my mom when I got out of rehab. She goes, Casey, thank heavens that is done. We'll never have to deal with that again. And I went, well. And my mom goes,
hope.
My mom goes, what do you mean? And I go, Mom, you want me to guarantee you something that I can't guarantee. Once again, I have no want or need to go out and do that, but I can't guarantee you something like that. That's not.
And I think if a person can understand this cycle and understand how you're operating within it, it might actually help you stay in maintenance longer or permanently because you realize I don't really want to have to go through the relapse and the pre-contemplation and all of that again. I'd like to stay in maintenance. But it does happen, and it isn't the end of the world. In fact, it's part of a behavior cycle that we have seen through lots and lots of research. So anyway, I hope that was interesting.
Oh, I
wanted to walk through your story as an example of this is how behavior change happens. There is science behind behavior change, and there's a lot that we skipped over, how other people help us in this cycle and whatnot. But it's important for people to understand. If you can identify where you're at in the cycle, get some help to keep moving through and try to stay in that maintenance phase.
If people want more information, they can find it once again by Googling what?
So the cycle of behavior change, or cycle of change, Prochaska and D. Clemente are the authors. They're funny. They're actually kind of funny guys. I've seen them present their research, and believe it or not, sciencey guys can be funny too. They're interesting fellows. But you can apply this to any type of behavior change. And honestly, you could just go to Wikipedia and spend 10 minutes and really get a lot of information about it.
Good stuff on the internet.
Right, exactly.
You're listening to Project Recovery, brought to you by our friends at useonlyasdirected.org with their 3-part solution: speak out, opt out, and of course, throw out. Project Recovery is a KSL podcast.
The contents of this program are for informational purposes only. The program is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician, licensed therapist, or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you've heard on this program. KSL does not recommend or endorse any specific tests, physicians, products, procedures, opinions, or other information that may be mentioned on the program. Reliance on any information provided on the program is solely at your own risk.